Welcome to the Arlington Street Church podcast. Founded in 1729, Arlington Street continues today as a gathering place for progressive people of faith in the greater Boston area and beyond. We are located at the corner of Arlington and Boylston Streets, across from the Public Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. Please visit ascboston.org for more information about this historic Unitarian Universalist congregation. Arlington Street Church, gathered in love and service for justice and peace.
My divinity school classmate, Aspen, was sitting in the library studying a note card. "Do you have a test?" I asked Aspen. "No, yes, I don't know." "Well, not a classroom test," Aspen said. She explained that she was doing her required hospital chaplaincy training. Aspen didn't grow up with organized religion. My supervisor suggested I memorize the most common Catholic prayers because patients and staff will look to me to say them, Aspen said. I looked more closely at her card, where the words to the Our Father and the Hail Mary were written. I had heard and said those prayers so many times growing up that I didn't think I could forget them if I tried. When you hear the word prayer, what do you think of? Are you comforted? Triggered? Do you feel neutral? Is prayer relevant to you today? Is it helpful? My most vivid memories of praying were from when I was in middle school and starting to realize that I didn't like boys. I was terrified of what that meant. I had been taught many times by my priest that being gay was wrong. As my friends started to talk about boys and gush about their crushes, all I knew was that I didn't feel that way. I stayed up for hours begging God to make me like boys. After that didn't work, I started doing bargaining prayers. Please, please, if you do this for me, I will do this for you. I prayed more often, more forcefully. Prayer for me was connected with being good, with doing right. It was synonymous with religion, and it was to a God who had control over my life. As I moved through college, I long stopped begging and bargaining with prayers. Prayer no longer had a charge for me, but it also didn't hold much of anything. I couldn't relate to people who prayed. How did they think that prayer could help anything? I felt bad for my classmate Aspen and was grateful I did not want to work in a hospital. Those of you who are laughing, it's because you know me and you know what my job is now. So much for that plan. Much to my shock, I fell completely in love with hospital chaplaincy while doing my required training. And like Aspen, my hospital chaplaincy training put big focus on prayer. I thought about all the things I'd be doing that would be way more important and way more impactful than praying. Student chaplains are required to do a lot of shadowing before they can see patients one-on-one. I was shadowing my supervisor, Elle, when I first saw how profound prayer could be. I stood silent behind her and bore witness as she visited a woman that I'm gonna call Jane. When I speak about my patients, I change identifying details, but keep the essence of what happened. Elle had explained to me that Jane had had many miscarriages, and she didn't have a strong support system. Jane was skeptical as Elle asked if she could come in following yet another miscarriage. Jane's eyes were swollen and her skin was pale. She looked down for most of the conversation. Her fists were clenched. Jane said that she guessed she was Christian. No, she didn't have anyone she wanted us to call. I watched Elle step gently. I don't know what I need, Jane said. I'm so angry. This is not how my life was supposed to go. Jane's body language told us not to come too close. She seemed too far away for us to reach her. Elle asked if she could say a prayer for Jane. "I guess," Jane said. I didn't see what a prayer could do. Elle looked at Jane and prayed something like this prayer. "Loving God, be with Jane where she most needs you. Live in the places where the pain is greatest, the places where others can't go. Touch every wound with love. Kneel beside each loss. Let the needs within the anger be recognized and tended to. Honor the parent in Jane. Let her love exist in a way that is far bigger than time, place, and understanding. Hear Jane's greatest desires, bring her healing, protect her hope. Let hope open to possibility. Bring Jane a future of meaning and joy. Bring her all that she needs and hold her now and always. Amen." Jane cried. She reached out to Elle. "Thank you," she said. "It's like you could say what I couldn't. It's like you could see inside of me." It's hard to describe in words what I felt in the room that day. I felt a shift in Jane. I felt walls come down. I felt love reach her. I felt connection. I realized there can be a lot more to prayer than memorizing or pleading. From here on, as I talk about prayer, I'm talking about earnest intentions or hopes and expressions of love, offered freely and without any expectations. Prayer can also be a conversation between many different people or sources. Prayer can be what I had been taught growing up, an expression of need from yourself said to a higher power. Prayer can be what Jane had learned, an expression of hope or intention by one for another offered up to God. The offering can be to a specific higher power, a broad higher power, an unknown higher power. It can be offered up to a greater source, like love. Prayer can be something said from one to another. It does not have to be offered up to a divine. As I spend more time praying and more time with people who pray, I've learned different names for prayers. Some call them hopes, others call them wishes. After 9 years of being a chaplain in hospitals, I now think of prayers as love letters. Prayers can be said with an intimacy that requires no relational prerequisites. We all need to feel love and to hear expressions of love. Not all of us have a strong support system. Not all of us have people who can love us freely. We can be guarded around expressing love. In our culture, there are a lot of norms around space, physical space, but also emotional space. Have you ever wanted to say something to someone in pain, but worried about how it might be perceived, that it might be too much, so you refrained? I know I have. Just the act of asking if someone is okay, of naming their pain, this can feel like an emotionally intimate act. Prayer allows a way to respond. Prayer helps us get right to the heart. It allows us to say, I care about you. I care about what is hurting or scaring you. May you have help. May you have what you need. I remember watching someone use prayer to provide this depth of care to a stranger. It was years ago, and I was racing down the long stretch of the Park Street station, trying to get from work to class. As I rushed along, I saw a young woman drop to the ground. She was on her phone and crying. How could that have happened? She yelled, between sobs. Most people stared at her as they walked by. I saw an elderly woman stop and watch. When the young woman got off the phone, the older woman gently said, "Can I do anything to help you?" The woman was still crying. She shook her head no. I thought the older woman would walk away, but she didn't. The older woman kneeled beside the woman in distress. I wish there was something I could do to help, my dear, she said. If there's nothing I can do, I'll just say, I hope something can get better. I hope you have good people to help. I hope you are met with kindness. I hope life gets better soon for you. Thank you, the woman in distress said. Thank you so much. She hugged the stranger. They both went in opposite directions. A prayer, this love letter, as I like to call them, it can speak to many truths at once. Have you ever struggled to find just the right card? Spent way too much time reading card after card that doesn't fit for the situation. This is something that happens to me a lot. Prayer allows you to speak to very specific needs, to speak to many needs at once, even conflicting needs. It allows you to reach someone exactly where they are. Organ donation and transplantation is complicated, and emotions can be incredibly conflicting. A patient I'll call Charles had just found out that after months of waiting for a heart transplant, there was a heart and he was a match. I sat with Charles, who identified feeling terrified, relieved, excited, guilty, and afraid all at once. There's no good card for that. Will you pray for me? Charles asked. I thought about our inclination to cling to the good, and I thought about how the happy emotions are living intertwined with the painful ones. Charles needed both to be recognized. I knew that Charles was Jewish and looked to God for comfort. We sat together. Oh, Charles, I said, and then offered this prayer. This heart becomes available through huge loss and devastation. Be in the devastation. Comfort the grieving family. Bring peace to the donor. This heart brings relief and freedom. Be in the promise. Let Charles bask in what can now be. Let him dare to hope. Let love connect all tied to this heart, and let love guide this story. Thank you, Charles said. I couldn't just celebrate. This isn't just happy. Prayer, love letters, these help us speak to each other's truths, many truths, and sometimes even conflicting truths. Offering prayer, a love letter, it is something we can do when there isn't much else we can do, or when there's so much we can't do. Take a minute to think about what's on your heart. What is happening in your life? What is happening in our country? What is happening in our world? Do you feel overwhelmed by what you can't do? By what you don't have control over? Prayer is something you can do. You cannot control the outcome of the election, but you can do what you can. You can vote, and you can acknowledge and speak words of love and care for what you and your loved ones are most worried about. You cannot control whether or not the cancer treatment will work, but you can speak words to tell another how much they mean to you and speak your hopes for their healing. The pandemic was a time when so much felt out of my control. I think about what the hospital was like for us. We didn't know if our masks or gowns or goggles would work as we went in to care for our patients. We didn't know how our bodies would respond if we got COVID. We didn't know when this would end or if it would end. My loved ones couldn't give me these answers, couldn't create a safe outcome for me. A colleague and mentor reached out to me by phone every couple of weeks. She was working in a church, I was working in a hospital, and I felt like we were worlds apart. At the end of each phone call, she would say, I am praying for you every day, Allie, praying for your heart to be able to hold the pain, praying for your body to stay safe every day. These prayers couldn't keep me or my patients physically safe. They couldn't end the pandemic, but they did so much. Her prayers, her love letters, they tended to my heart. They kept me in company. And during a time when I felt so alone, they made me feel much less alone. Prayer can be a superpower, a powerful language, a healing balm for you, for loved ones, for strangers. You don't need to be a chaplain to offer prayer. You don't need to be a minister. You don't need to believe in God. Here's what you do need. Look at another. What does she need to hear? What do you hope for her? Tell her you care about her. Tell her you care about what happens to her. Tell her what you hope for her. Sometimes we're the ones who need a prayer. Can you offer your hopes up for yourself? Can you express love for yourself? These are hard times. The world is full of hate, conflict, insecurity, and fear. The space between us can feel like it's growing. Prayer is one way to disrupt that. Prayer can foster love. Prayer can bring our hearts together. As you look around, can you offer a love letter to anyone? I'd like to offer one to you. May light reach the individual sorrows that weigh on your hearts. May a love beyond our understanding meet you where others can't go. May we find each other in our shared sorrows and shared fears. May we trust each other's goodness and best intentions. May we meet mistakes and errors with learning and betterment. May our hallway of unknowing lead to a beautiful place. May we see each other's beauty always. May we be well. Amen. And now for our benediction, I invite you to put your hands over your heart in Namaste. I bow to the divine in you. For when you need someone to pray for you, bring me your concerns, your needs, your pleas. If you can tell me about it, I will hold out my hands and cradle each word. If there are no words, I will open my heart and shelter each emotion. If you whisper or say or scream or feel your prayers, I will stand in awe of you for being willing to allow company on such fragile ground. Let's sit down where fear, hope, and awe meet. The ground can hold us. It will shake, but it will not split. You can close your eyes. You can feel the ground beneath you, my arm on your shoulder, my voice around you. May love hold you. May care reach all that hurts. May it be okay. When it is not okay, may you have help. May you have hope. May relief and healing come. May you have goodness, peace, beauty, for you deserve goodness, peace, and beauty. Let us keep this faith, beloveds, and pass it on. The service begins where the service ends. Bless your hearts. I love you. Amen.
Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people.
Please visit ascboston.org for more information about this historic Unitarian Universalist congregation. Arlington Street Church, gathered in love and service for justice and peace.